Hey, it's Rob. It's Wax Wednesday, stuff I picked up. Last week I didn't do a show because last week it was kind of a short week, and I usually film these things on Monday, and short weeks kind of just mess me up. Besides, it's a long weekend. I can give myself those weeks off, right? Right. I knew you'd see it my way. The reason I was away last weekend was Paddlefest was going on in St. Andrews. Paddlefest, just a great festival. St. Andrews, just a great town. Super fun. People go there to have a good time, without question. That goes for the artists and the patrons alike. And it is a great time. It's a fun little festival. Friday night, I emceed Grand Theft Bus and Good Dear Good. And had the pleasure of watching Grand Theft Bus just kill it. Oh boy, they brought the tent down. And the following day, unfortunately, I couldn't stick around for the full weekend because I had other stuff to do, other commitments. But did enjoy my one night, and Krista and I went out thrifting and hit a couple of flea markets the following day. And that's where we pick up our episode of Wax Wednesday. Oh boy, it's exciting. Yeah, flea market, you go into these things with an open mind. Sometimes the covers are a little funky. Maybe they're water damaged. Maybe, I don't know. You just kind of have an open mind. Anyway, I hit one little stall. They had some pretty good stuff. Let me introduce to you Exhibit A. It's the debut album from Moby, Grape. Now, Moby, Grape are one of the bands that were big in the San Francisco Bay Area when the world was looking at the San Francisco Bay Area, the Summer of Love. It was kind of the headquarters of that on the North American side of things. Great summer of counterculture and music, and a lot of free spirits walking the streets. And it ended up turning out to be a huge nightmare for San Francisco because that's where every aimless young person ended up going, and the streets were flooded. The utopian vision of what San Francisco started out as got pretty diluted fairly quickly. But anyway, a great music scene. A lot of people, when they think about San Francisco, they think about, let's see, of course, the Grateful Dead, Quicksilver Messenger Service, the Jefferson Airplane, Janis Joplin. Not many people dig out the old Moby Grape and throw them in that company, yet they should. This is an incredible debut album. This stands as tall as any of those other debut albums, signed to Columbia Records, as were, let's see, who else was kind of big around the time? Well, Janis herself was a Columbia artist. The Byrds, who we're going to meet momentarily, they were another act on Columbia Records. So Columbia was kind of all over that fertile creative ground known as San Francisco and California in general, and scooping up bands. These guys, man, like a lot of people talk about this fellow here. His name is Skip Spence. He actually was in an early version of Quicksilver Messenger Service. He was the drummer on the first Jefferson Airplane album, but he left them after that album and formed Moby Grape with this other group. Kind of interesting to note, I think this is the bass player, Bob Stevenson. This actual cover was banned or recalled or whatever, because you can see him flipping the bird in front of his washboard there. But this Skip Spence is often talked about as the guiding force behind this band, but I like he kind of bailed out pretty early on the group, and as far as songwriting credits on this, it's pretty evenly spread out amongst the five members. He has 2 songwriting credits, mind you. One of them is Omaha, and that's just a great song. Wow, what a pop number that is. But these guys, they kind of fizzled out really good. Like no matter how much talent they had, they had the creative differences, the personal differences. They had kind of sketchy management. Poor Skip Spence himself was somewhat of a drug casualty and suffered from mental illness. He's somewhat of a tragic figure. And here's another thing that was done really stupidly. when this album came out, Columbia made the decision to saturate the market with 5 singles at once, all released at once, which is a horrible game plan for trying to, put some sort of, tactic plan in place for an album. You kind of shot off all your fireworks in the first go around. So a really dumb move, because of course when you release 5 singles at once, you're going to have 5 different choices for radio programmers to consider, and therefore there was probably not a whole lot of concerted effort or force behind any one song. It was probably just splintered off and scattered. These guys, yes, psychedelia is a bit of an element of what they do, no question about it. But they're all great players. It's a 3-guitar attack on this. It's not only a psychedelia, but it's rock, it's blues, it's country. It is quite a groundbreaking album and really exciting. And like I say, just one of those sad cases where it just wasn't meant to last. As for Skip Spence, he did end up spending 6 months in the Belleville Mental Institution in New York City. And when he was released after 6 months was up, he left the place in his pajamas, got on a motorcycle, and went to Nashville to make his only solo album, which is quite critically acclaimed as well. But then he just kind of pretty much faded out of sight. So kind of one of those tragic figures of rock and roll, Skip Spence. But this Moby Grape album is dynamite. Dynamite. 1967. Going back a couple of years earlier, I grabbed this up, and man, like, what a nice, again, a nice copy of it. There's a little bit of ring wear. You can see the indentation of the album kind of there, but really, the jacket is holding up fairly well. The Byrds were just kind of one of those magical moments of pop history, and they ended up being very influential. You got to look at, say, 1965, when these guys debuted. The 2 biggest names in the world of entertainment were the Beatles, of course, and Bob Dylan. And with the Byrds, you kind of get a marriage of the two. You got the cool band dynamic and a bunch of good-looking young guys, and all pretty good musicians. But you also have that Dylan influence. Actually, these guys, I think, covered, let's see, I think there is 3 Bob Dylan covers on this. So, but there's also some cool originals here. Feel a Whole Lot Better is on here as well. That's one of my favorites. I love that. The band is super talented. It's got, David Crosby, who would go on to form Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Gene Clark, a very critically lauded singer-songwriter from this era into the 70s. It was kind of again, one of those ground floor guys that got behind country rock and kind of put that on the map. And of course, Roger McGuinn, who give it that great jangle 12-string Rickenbacker sound. Anyway, the Byrds were a major force when they first came out, because they had all those great ingredients going for them. And, the Byrds, they would lose members, they would gain members, they would change direction. But this is the first look at the Byrds, and it's a great pop album. So, highly recommended on this one. When you go to flea markets, you got to be a little forgiving on the condition. I picked up this next one, and it is not in great shape. And I knew that bringing it home. But I've been looking for this one for a while. And I was looking for it because I really wanted to have a copy of it. And I'll look for one to replace this one. But in the time being, I'll make do with this. This is the Beach Boys. The album is called Surf's Up. Doesn't look like a sunny California kind of record. Well, it's not, really. The interesting thing about this album is the title track, which is why I wanted to have this. Remember, at this point, Brian Wilson, who is basically the creative guiding force behind the Beach Boys. Well, you remember back in the 60s, he kind of dropped out of the band to stay at home and be the one that wrote the music. that the guys, and of course produced the albums that the band would go out and tour and what have you, and record as much as they could. Mind you, they used a lot of session guys. But that was also the period of Brian Wilson's unwinding as far as his mental health was concerned as well. He basically, holed himself up in the studio, avoided a lot of contact, was very paranoid, was doing far too many drugs. It was really turning out some experimental music that was a far cry from the surf sand fun stuff that those early teenage anthems that they produced. The stuff that Brian Wilson was making, even by the mid-'60s, was a far cry from that. His what was to be his magnum opus album was the Smiley Smile album, which was his follow-up to Pet Sounds, which is kind of the project that really put him over the edge as far as his competence, his mental competence was concerned. He went off the rails for sure. And the Smile album, it did not get released. It was shelved for years, for decades, in fact. But one of the songs from that is the song "Surf's Up," and it's the last song on this album, and it's something that deserves to be heard. It really does. When you think of Surf's Up, it's not like a Surfin' USA or a Fun, or it's not one of those Beach Boys songs. No, this is one of his Baroque psychedelia masterpieces where he's layering all these vocal harmonies, and it's a song which was co-written by Brian Wilson and Van Dyke Parks, the guy who was brought in to write a lot of lyrics for the Beach Boys, but he had a real esoteric view of writing lyrics, so it definitely came off very art-based, maybe more so than those early fun records were. But Surf's Up is just a dynamite listen. It's just incredible. And it's truly a look into the genius of Brian Wilson, although it's a far cry from what you would expect from a Beach Boys release when you consider, what we know them for. Primarily, again, those early beach hits. They were at the crest of that whole surf culture. But "Surf's Up," the song, is such a far cry from that. But it's definitely a song that should be heard because it's fabulous. It's really good. Anyway, picked up a couple of oldies but goodies a couple of weekends ago in St. Andrews. Don't walk by a flea market without going in looking for a few records, because sometimes you'll find some gems. I found 3 right there, and I didn't break the bank. It's Wax Wednesday stuff I picked up. That's what I picked up. If you picked up anything, let me know. Remember, home is where your records are, so when you go home tonight, play one and enjoy it. And we'll talk to you in 7 days. It's not a holiday next week, is it? No, 7 days. I'll be here. You be here. We'll talk then. Take care.